What I have set up on the bench right now are some older reloading tools, and these go back to sometime in the 60s. I don't know an exact date, but this is a single stage press from Herter's. This is a Seiko powder dispenser, and there is a Herter's oil dampened scale. So I lubed these things up, cleaned up the powder dispenser, dusted off the scale, put some oil in it because it is an oil dampened scale. And just to see how everything's going to work, I decided I'm going to size, prime, and flare some 45 ACP casings, and I've had no issues whatsoever. So next, I'm going to load some stuff up. I put some bullseye in the powder dispenser, and the way this thing works is the adjustment, there's a notch out of the barrel back here, and there is a screw. So as you unscrew the screw, it is increasing the size of the cavity. As you screw the screw in, it decreases the size of the cavity. It works very much the same way as most of your common powder dispensers, manual dispensers do. And this one, it just works out of a notch rather than a metering screw in the front. And then it has a set screw that goes into the side of the screw to keep it from backing off. And after throwing a dozen or so powder charges, I got this set up to throw 5.2 grains of bullseye for a 230 grain plated bullet. And this thing is just really consistent. So you've got cast iron, steel linkage, back when men made really rugged tools. Now the oil dampened scale is spot on. I was checking that against an electronic scale, and I've also got another Reading. It's an older Reading balance scale, but everything is just spot on. And these powder dispensers, or this one in particular at least, is within 1/10 of a grain most of the time. It varied 2/10 of a grain once, and they have this knocker on the front. Now what that's supposed to do is settle the powder charge so that it becomes more consistent. Frankly, I found that if you just throw the powder charge without doing this, it was more consistent by not using that than it was with using it. When I used it, it varied 2/10 of a grain. So I guess if you're going to do that, you have to do it every single time. But the consistency of what it is that you're doing seems to be really the key there. But just for grins and giggles, the oil dampened scale, this is absolutely spot on. This thing is 60 years old, and it's right there. So I've got, let's throw a powder charge here, and we're going to weigh that on the scale. Now you're going to notice that with an oil dampened scale, and I've got this set at 5.1 grains of powder, and because it's oil dampened, it does take a moment or two. But the thing is, when you get set up, when you're using older equipment like this, you double check the powder dispenser against some other scale. Now, you want to go ahead and use the oil dampened scale. It works beautiful, and that scale is in fact spot on, but as you can see, I mean, it takes a little while for it to settle down, where an electronic scale is just, you got it right now. But the important thing here is that it is spot on, and these things are absolutely consistent. And certainly if you're going to vary 1/10 of a grain with your powder charge for particularly like 45 ACP for a target load where you're putting out a piece of paper at, like 20 yards or something like that, well, 1/10 of a grain up or down is just simply not going to make any difference. But you come across older equipment like this, don't be afraid to check it out and to take it home and use it, because this is often the stuff that you get at a really, really good deal. And when I get stuff like this in, I sell it half the price of the current brand new stuff. And I got news for you. Nobody is making a higher quality tool more consistent than what you're seeing right here. And that stuff is 60 years old. Happy trails.